behalf of myself and Michele Lyons and Rick Broniec and Victoria Merihart and Marcus Young and Leonard Simchik, we want to welcome you to Together in Spirit. And it's our desire to create a space during these uncertain times for us to gather. And we were all housebound facilitators and decided we were getting the itch to do something. And so we decided to offer these free mini workshops for 6 weeks. So we're really glad that you decided to join us tonight. We have a very special presentation. And so I'll just mention, like I said earlier, the first half hour is going to be presentation, and will be recorded. In the second half hour, we will open up to the group, and you're welcome to stay for the whole thing, or if you're just interested in staying for the first half hour, obviously whatever you choose to do is great. We'll keep everybody on mute through the first half hour, and then we'll open that up in the second. Let's see, I think that's all I have to say, other than we're really glad that you're here. Okay, so tonight our presentation, I didn't write down the name of it, but you're all here anyway, so you're gonna get what we're serving, I guess. Rick and Michele can tell you what the name of the workshop is. What I can say is Michele is a certified sex coach and holds a master's degree in expressive arts therapy. She's facilitated expressive arts groups in Donovan Correctional Facility with homeless veterans and refugees. And in her private practice, she combines the power of the arts with sex coaching, and she's currently writing a book on sexual healing. And Rick Broniec is a best-selling author, speaker, and personal growth coach. And over a 30-year period, he's led trainings for thousands of men and women in 11 countries on 5 continents. So I'm happy to turn the evening over to both of you.
Thanks, Anna.
Thank you. And good evening, everyone, and thank you for being here. Tonight, we're going to give you 3 keys to maintain intimacy with yourself and others during these trying times. We're going to offer tools to address your emotional self, your sensual self, and your sacred self. And also we'll be doing exercises. Due to the time restraints that we only have 30 minutes, we'll be doing 1 exercise in the first 30 minutes, and then another exercise in the last 30 minutes. And the last exercise you'll be doing at home. So let's get started. And I'm going to start first with a question. How many of you are quarantined alone? Raise your hand. All right. And how many are you quarantined with a partner or family members? Raise your hand. All right, thank you. And how many of you who are with partners would love to be quarantined alone? Sometimes.
Sometimes, right.
So let's get started. Rick is going to go over the first key.
Thanks, Michele. The first key is looking at nurturing your I'm looking at the wrong one. Emotional self, your feeling self. Okay? Perhaps it's time to fully acknowledge the seismic shift that is happening in our world. We hear it all the time in the news, but it may be that our world will never return to the way it was. And in that truth, there are some losses that we all have experienced. We'd like you to catalog those losses, not just the losses of life and illness and jobs and income and connection with loved ones and normalcy, but all the other losses that you have experienced through this now, almost 2 months of quarantine. I heard an expert on trauma yesterday say that all of us are experiencing some sort of trauma through this time. You can't help but be traumatized in some way. And what we need to do is acknowledge our losses and our pain. She believed if we didn't do that, we were headed for unprecedented mental health crisis as a result. And obviously we're concerned about that. So how do we address that in a healthy way? Well, our first exercise is grieving and honoring the losses. One solution to these losses is to simply honor them. We invite you to journal all the losses you've incurred since the advent of COVID-19 and take your time, think about those losses, and notice the feelings that arise from each one. Then share those losses with someone you trust, either in person, if you're lucky enough to be with someone, by phone, or by Zoom, where you can actually see each other. And let yourself really experience, feel, and grieve what has been lost. For example, I grieve the loss of the evening news the way it used to be. I don't know about you, but I'm damn tired of turning the news on and hearing body counts and seeing that ugly picture of the COVID virus every single night. It brings back some memories of the Vietnam War where things were really similar. I wish we had time to do this complete exercise tonight, but alas, we don't. So this is one that we invite you to take home, take your time with, and really experience. Honor that loss. Thanks. Now, let's move on to our second key. Michelle?
All right, thank you. And the second key is to nurture your sensual self. And me being a sex coach, this is one of my most favorite ones. and of course, my favorite topic. And one great loss that I've experienced, even though I'm sequestered with Rick and I do get touch for my sensual self, I really miss being out in public and being with my friends where I get hugs, pats on the back, just the normal physical contact we have with people in our day-to-day life. So on that note, I am going to guide us through a sensual body bath. It's called the quarantine body bath. So I'm going to invite everybody to stand up. See everybody. Okay, so everybody's standing up. That's great. You too, Rick. So close your eyes, and I'm going to guide you through your quarantine body bath. So close your eyes and put your head at the top of, put your hands at the top of your head and gently caress your face, feeling all the different parts of your face, your lips, your nose, your eyes. And then take your hands and caress the back of your head. And take it down to your neck, the back of your neck, down to your throat, under your chin. And don't forget to breathe. And then your upper back and your shoulders. Give yourself that caress, that sensual touch. And then take your left arm, your right arm out in your left hand and gently stroke the top of your arm down to your fingers. And down below your arm, down to the palm of your hand. And notice if there's any place that might need a little bit more attention. And then with your right hand, start to caress your left arm, down the front of your arm, and also do your fingers. See how that feels. And then starting at the armpit, underneath your arm, remembering to breathe. And then put your hands on your neck gently and start to caress the front of your body. down your chest, your stomach, and then your back as far as you can go with your hands, your lower back, down your buttocks. And then take both of your hands and start to caress your right leg, your thigh, your hamstrings, your knee, the back of your knee, your calf, your shin, and finally down to your foot and your toes. Get those little toes. And then back up, and then start at the top of your left leg, caressing and gently stroking your thigh, your hamstrings, your knee, the back of your knee, your calves, your shin, and finally down to your toes and your foot. And then keep your eyes closed and take a couple breaths and feel your body, that you've given your sensual self some attention, some nurturing attention. Great. And everybody sit back down. Okay. Thank you.
So our third key is taking a look at nurturing our sacred or soul selves. Now, one thing that feeds my soul is, and that I'm sorely missing, is regular positive feedback and blessing and affirmation. Now, of course, I get that from Michele all the time, but I haven't been getting it as much from my friends and family because of the isolation. And I miss it. I suspect we all need this. And when we're stressed, we need it all the more to keep our self-esteem high, our mood up, and our sacred self fully present. Do you notice this too? I bet I'm not alone. In fact, my second love language is words of affirmation. My first love language is touch. And those words of affirmation literally say to me that I'm loved. So I need that on a regular basis. In fact, I crave it. Maybe you do too. And it's very hard for me to ask for this sometimes, especially if we are sequestered away from our loved ones. And yet it's absolutely critical that we do this to keep ourselves, our mood elevated and so forth. That's exactly what we need to do. And we have a wonderful exercise to nurture our sacred selves. We're going to discuss it now and say how to do it. And then we're going to do it after we stop recording after the 30-minute mark. Okay? So the exercise number 3 is called a viral inoculation. And I want to acknowledge my friend Leonard Chimchak, who helped us with the term inoculation. And he and I have done this with each other and with Michele and one of our other groups more than once. This is a viral inoculation. We want everyone here to be inoculated against this damn virus and the harmful effects of it to our souls and our sacred selves. And one powerful way to inoculate ourselves is to remind ourselves of the great qualities that we have, maybe some of our amazing accomplishments, and certainly to be reminded of the service that we do to other people and to the world. It's easy to forget that in times of stress, in times we're feeling alone or isolated. Okay, can you relate to this? Say yes, nod your head, or give me some indication. All right, so what do? We're going to ask you to brag on yourselves. And for some of us, that's difficult to do. Especially, Michele tells me, women are acculturated not to say positive things about themselves. So we're going to ask you to maybe stretch a little bit and do this. What you're going to do is if you're with a partner in the room with you, and again, we're going to do this later, I'm just talking about it now, you're going to turn to face each other, and you're going to take about 5 minutes each. We're going to break up into small rooms for the rest of us. And you're going to take 5 minutes each, and you're going to ask for what you want to hear. Tell me how great I am, is the way Michelle often puts it. I need to hear that today. Or remind me of my beauty. And then just listen and take it in.
Or brag about yourself.
Now, if the person doesn't know you well, that's okay. Then you just talk about yourself, brag about yourself, and that person will reflect it back to you. And in fact, they can say it back to you as often as you need to hear it till it sinks in deeply. Okay? In these times of stress, it's easy to forget how wonderful we are. So Michelle just went through such an episode just last week. Michelle, would you like to share a little bit about that experience?
Rick, I will. Sure.
Well, that's good because it's on the script.
So I noticed just the other night, I woke up in the middle of the night and my negative self-talk was off the charts. And what I did was I made a whole list to remind myself of all my great attributes. Literally, I said to myself, Michelle, you're a really generous person. You're loyal. You are kind. And then I went through even a lot of the accomplishments that I had, that I've made in my life. Oh my God, I have this degree, I have that degree. I even, I've got great clients. But it took a lot of concentration for me to get out of that negative monkey mind and do this for myself, of remembering all the great attributes that I have of myself. And after maybe 10, 15 minutes, I was able to fall back to sleep, which I was really happy for.
The next morning, Michelle shared this experience with me and asked me to reaffirm some of those things, which we did. It was great. Thank you, Michelle, for sharing that story. I appreciate it. Now, Michelle and I do a version of this every month. We do a check-in on our relationship, and it's a version of this inoculation. And I promise you that every single time we do this, we end up in tears of joy, and feeling loving and close to each other, like even more each month. So it's a powerful exercise.
Yeah.
And we are going to do this a little bit later, okay?
So stick around.
So get ready for your inoculation, because it's fun to do. Okay.
And you don't even have to worry about getting a shot.
Yeah, and if you're one of those people that's quarantining alone, then get a friend on a Zoom call or a phone call and set this up and do it with them.
Okay.
Okay.
So I'm gonna review what we've gone over tonight. And then we went over 3 keys to maintaining intimacy for yourself and for others. And those 3 keys are nurturing your emotional self by acknowledging the seismic changes that we've experienced in our life. The second one is nurturing your sensual self by getting the touch that you need to thrive. And the third one is nurturing your sacred or your soul self. And the exercises that we explained was, the first one to nurture your emotional self was to write down all the losses that you've experienced in the last 2 months since we've been on quarantine, and to share those with a trusted friend. And then the next one, to nurture your sensual self, is to remember the quarantine body bath. And then the third exercise is the viral inoculation, which we're going to do in a few minutes. So these are the 3 keys that we suggest that you do actually, you can do these anytime, even if you're not in the COVID, even after quarantine, to get through COVID with flying colors and come out even better come out on the other side.
Thanks for reviewing, Michelle. Anna, back to you.
Oops, there we go. Thank you both so much for that. To be honest, I wasn't quite sure what you were going to bring tonight, but it is exactly what I needed, and hopefully what everybody else is going to find useful as well. So I think well, I'll speak for myself. I know, having been isolated as a single person, it's that touch and that connection is just, it's so hard to be apart from everybody. And you know, like you're saying, even if you're with family or in a couple, it's still not the same as being out with all your friends and having that connection and touch and affirmation. So thank you. This is just so valuable. Really appreciate what you both brought tonight.
Thanks.
And yeah, and so in the second half hour, we're going to continue. We'll get to do some sharing with one another and a little bit of group sharing. So I'm looking forward to that. If you can stay with us, we'd love to have you. And I just, let's see, I'm gonna oh yes, let me just show everybody how they can find out more about your work. Let's see.
So when Anna gets our card up, you can either take a picture of it with your phone or take a screenshot. It has our website, phone number, and Facebook page on it.
Yeah.
We call our company Quantum Leap Couples Coaching.
Oh, thank you, Anna.
Yeah.
And also for everybody on the call, Rick and I are offering a free 30-minute intimacy check-up discovery call.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
you can call us or contact us for your free 30-minute session.
That's great. Thank you for that.